Hello, this is the Harrowing Light. I'm Mary. I give a conservative perspective about the world around me. So, social media links, X, Minds, email, and Substack, all of that will be provided for you. So, audio platforms. I'm on Audible, Amazon Music, Spotify for podcasters, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Pandora, iHeartRadio, and I'm looking to grow to where you enjoy your podcast. I'm definitely on that. So this episode is about the historical aspects of folk music. All right, so let's dive in. Folk music lives in oral tradition. Its history can be best understood through a study of its relationships to other music. Many folk songs collected in oral tradition have been traced to literary sources, often of considerable antiquity. In medieval Europe, under the expansion of Christianity, attempts were made to suppress folk music because of its association with heathenish rites and customs. Yet some aspects of European folk music became assimilated into medieval Christian music, and vice versa. Folk music has also been consciously incorporated into European art, music compositions, and music composition throughout history, especially during periods of renewal, beginning with the Renaissance. During the late 15th and 16th centuries, the literature urban classes responded more favorably to folk music than their predecessors had in medieval period. The humanistic attitudes of the Renaissance, which brought about the evolutions of nature and of antiquity, encouraged the acceptance of folk music as genre of rustic antique songs. Some music in the Renaissance manuscript is presumed to be folk song by virtue of its musical simplicity and the rule and the presence within its text. Renaissance composers made extensive use of folk in popular music. Typical genres included polyphonic folk song settings and folk song combinations of familiar songs. Folk tunes were often used as structural and raw material for masses, and likewise. The music of the Protestant Reformation borrowed from folk music. The use of folk music receded in the Baroque period, about 1600 to 1750. But the relationship of folk music to art music became a topic of interest in the late 18th century, when Western intellectuals began to glorify folk and peasant life. Folk music came to be revamped as a spontaneous creation of people's uncumbersome by artistic self-consciousness and the aesthetic theories. It was considered to embody the common experience of inhabitants of the local. These traits make folk music a prime source for art music, primarily when it is intended to evoke a particular nation or ethnic group. The nationalist movement of the 19th and early 20th century, art music drew on folk tunes and their styles, as well as folk dances and themes from folklore and village life to develop distinctive repertoires. Folk music is closely related to popular music in several ways. Societies that have developed popular music also have a folk music tradition. The particular duplication of repertoires and styles indicates such cross-fertilization that a given song may sometimes be called both folk and popular. With reference to music, folk and popular are 2 points on a musical conundrum, rather than discrete bodies of music. Popular music, like folk music, has become a significant marker of ethnicity and nation, and folk music has become gradually more popular music produced by professionals, and the distinction through mass media for consumption by an urban, non-participating mass audience. Church and folk music have been related at various times. Some church music derives from the application of religious texts to secular folk tunes. This practice may be seen, for example, in the hymns of the Protestant Reformation and in the revival hymns of the 19th century American camp meetings, which were called folk hymns because of their origins and association with folk-like groups. A very significant way in which folk music is preserved is through its association with folk dance. Throughout Europe history, dancing by rural folk and village dances in urban and court society provided a major venue for folk music. Although most of this music is instrumental, folk music, dance music, sometimes sung by the dancers themselves, is common. Okay, before I get to the last part, wrapping up about folk music, I'm going to give brief thoughts about this historical concept and everything. It's a good reminder that holding on to traditions is valuable, and it speaks to many generations, and in time it proves itself as a means to communicate perspectives about your country, perspectives about your political thoughts, perspectives about your sense of the world around you. And it's really powerful that music, particularly folk music, embraces that. All right, so let's get into the last part. So, in Northern Europe, even narrative ballads were used for dancing. There are many types of folk dance, some widespread throughout Europe, others particular to nations and regions, each with its typical music style. Certain musical forms are characteristics of the folk dance music of various parts of Europe. Most prominent is a form type with paired lines. The second, a variation of the first, ergo AA, AB, AA, BB, that is, and so on. And again, it's AA, BB, not AB. From the 1980s and on, it would seem that practices of folk dancing in urban and student societies have been responsible for the very preservation of folk music. Folk dance with its accompanying music is a staple of entertainment in the international tourist industry. The maintenance of folk dance has therefore become a matter of major concerns to the ministries of culture in Eastern Europe and in many of the world's semi-industrial and developing nations. All right, so this reaches the end of the Harboring Light. Of course, reach out either through social media, email, or Substack. Tune in, turn up, and definitely take care. All right, so bye-bye for now. Take care.